Good morning, Brenda. I am going to need everybody's help this morning. I need to know if well, obviously I am live because, hi, Lynn, because I have people watching, but can you hear me? And I am doing this live without a laptop. Hi, Pat. It started making this motor noise. Good morning, Kathy. And when I did a test run, the noise came across in my live, so I have put the laptop away. I'm strictly using my phone, which means when I flip the camera around and show you what I'm working on, I'm not going to be able to see any comments. Hi, Carolyn. So what I would like all of you to do, and you're already so good about doing this, if someone asks a question and you can help with the answer, please help me out and answer them. Good morning, Deborah. Hello, Vesta. Okay, so I'm just going to ask for your help in that way because there's no way I can look at comments and do the demo today. Hi, Peggy. So I did call a computer shop and they're going to need my laptop for a little while, depending on what needs fixed. So next week we could be in the same boat, but I won't know. Hi, Carol. It says hello in Kentucky visiting friends. Okay, that will be wonderful. Hey, Teresa. Good morning. Hi, Kathy. Karen. So yesterday, a whole bunch of Happy Mail went out. All the card kits are out. And the little thank you gifts that for those who placed an order with me last month, those went out. Hi, Mindy. Hi, Susan. Hi, Doris. So, Karen, names are really popping up fast, so I may miss somebody while I'm talking, but I don't mean to. I just don't have another way to go back. So, today is Happy Plover Appreciation Day, so I'm wearing my Nellie and Nish Plover t-shirt. These are the ones that we wear when we were out monitoring, so people would know who the volunteers are. So yes, the plovers are so cute. They get their own day, which makes me very happy. Hello, Eileen. Thank you for watching. All right, it looks like we're good. So I'm going to flip the camera around and down, and I will go over what is in front of me on my table. So, good morning, Sharon. Let me figure all of this out. Okay, now we've got to make this so that you can read everything. Hi, Mary. There we go. I'm going to lower it just a little bit. Bring things in. Okay, so from this point on, I cannot see comments. So if you see somebody asking a question and you know the answer, please help them for me. Okay, where do I want to start here? Let's start with the fact that there's only 2 weeks left in celebration. So if there's any of the free items that you've had your eye on, you earn free items with every $50 that you spend. So there's 2 weeks left on that. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. It'll end September 30th. So I wanted to remind everybody about celebration ending. And I got a piece of Happy Mail this week from Doris. And this is an adorable 16 patch. Isn't that so cute? The squares are 3/4 of an inch. So the block itself, the quilt block itself, finishes at 3 inches square. And then Doris matted it with a peekaboo border around there. And gotta be honest, I dismissed this collection, and I'm kicking myself in the butt, but it's not too late. Look at the embossing folder. This is the animal print embossing folder. I have to have this. This can be used for so many things. I just love that embossing folder. So Doris, thank you for opening my eyes to a collection that I normally wouldn't have looked at for my own, not my own taste, but I didn't know where I could use all of the product enough that I felt like I should invest in it. But this embossing folder right here, oh my goodness, I can use that for so many things. And the DSP, look at that when it's chopped up in small pieces, gives it a whole new feel. And you gotta love the tiger. Another thing I wanted to point out, these appear to be the opals that she colored with a blend. And what I love about our opals, the clear opals, the rhinestones, and the pearls, is that you can color them to help customize your card. Isn't that awesome? And it's a good way to stretch your dollar when you can, color something and customize it. So just buy the pearls. Here's the pearls, the opals, and here's the rhinestones. Here I've already colored a couple that I didn't use. But boy, you can really get more bang for your buck. You got some alcohol markers and color these the colors that you need for your project. So thank you so much, Doris. This is so adorable. I have now added to my wish list, which is so long, but it's so much fun. So thank you so much. This 16 patch is adorable. Okay, so let's set that aside. One other thing that I want to show you. I went to a night market, and my friend Kendra, it's Stardust and Dandelions is what she calls her home business. And this was made out of resin. Isn't this just so sparkly, this little witch's hat? I just love this. I went down to the market intentionally to buy this little hat here. So this sits among all of my cards that you have sent me. And I just love being able to look up from what I'm working on and see all these things that mean so much to me. But I just wanted to share this little witch's hat that she made with you. So we'll put that back up there where I can admire it while I'm working. And we can get on to today's card. For those of you who are new, I should introduce myself. My name is Julie Heights. I live in Toledo, Ohio. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, also known as the Chirpy Card Maker. So, hello. Thank you. If this is your first time watching, I hope to see you back. Let's move that out of our way and bring in, and here's the host code for September if you are placing an order that's under $150. Here is our little easel card that we're going to make today. Okay, so it ships flat like this, sits up like that for your recipient. And actually, this pumpkin with the stars on it, there's a quilt pattern that's been floating out there on Pinterest for years that I've always admired. And it was my inspiration. I looked at it and thought, I can do that with DSP. And I'm going to make it a little more whimsical. They've got a different pieced bird on their pumpkin, but I wanted to bring in the Chirpy Doodle and put that on our pumpkin. And I love crows. I know they're not everybody's favorite, but I love crows. So I had to put a little crow on the pumpkin, and I will show you how to make that little crow. So what we have here is, let's start with our quilt pattern here. I'll get the grid paper out and show that to you. Set this aside. Going to be doing a little doodling. So I've got some markers here also. But let me get out my main pieces. And we're going to get the quilt, the pattern out. Okay, so this measures 2 inches by 2.25 inches. Each one of these squares is a 1/2 inch. So you need 18 1/2 inch squares altogether. You're going to take 2 of those squares, cut them diagonally so that you can put in these half square triangles to give you the shape of your pumpkin. Okay, this is meant to be scrappy. So anything, any colors that speak pumpkin to you, oranges, yellows, reds, rust, it can be a pattern that has those colors, yellow, oranges. You want this to look scrappy, okay? So here in my little bits container, I've got my sentiment. I've got the pieces to make my crow. We'll get to that. Let's bring out the 1/2 inch squares that I need to glue down. And you're not going to have to watch me glue every single one of these little pieces down, but I'll get it started, and then I will bring in a pumpkin that I finished, because I wanted to show you how even if when you trim your pumpkin off of the excess grid paper, if your points aren't looking so good, and what I mean by that is, like, if your points aren't really sharp, you know, as quilters, half square triangles, we always strive to have sharp points. Let's say when you get it all glued down and you trim it off that you don't have really sharp points. Well, because we're going to cut this off the paper, we can give you sharp points. Okay. I think that is probably all my little pieces. If not, I will delve back into my little bits here. Bring in my mat because we're working with liquid glue. And let's see, I want my take your pick tool. So when I am doing a quilt pattern, I always like to, and now my light is making noise. Oh, everything's making noise on me today. I like to start somewhere near the middle and work my way out, because I can cut off anything that falls outside of the lines. So what I'm going to do is take my liquid glue, and I'm just going to put some dots down inside my squares there. And I am just going to start placing my 1/2 inch squares. Just want to make sure that your pieces are butting up to each other nice and tight. And if your cutting was a little over the 1/2 inch and your pieces are falling outside of your boxes, that's okay, because we're going to trim everything off. Okay? So what we're doing is we're just setting in our pieces. And you can plan this out, or you can just go really, really random. Let's see, what else do I have here? let's put this one right here. And I'm going to work my way out to these half square triangles and show you how I did that. And then, like I said, you don't have to watch me put 18 of these down. We will move on with a piece that I already have done. Oh no, don't get in there. Don't get in there. Let's see, that green one doesn't need to be in there. Let's use this orange here. So when you come to a half, you're going to have 2 squares left over. And what you're going to do is you are just going to cut those squares on a diagonal to create 2 half square triangles. And then you will lay those here on the outside corners. Okay? So you're just filling in your pumpkin. Whoops. You're just filling in your pumpkin with all of your pieces. Now the green square, we're not going to put that on. And in fact, we're going to cut this in half. But we're not going to put that on until we start putting our layers together. It's just one less thing you have to trim, you know, you don't have to cut around when you're taking your excess, cutting your pumpkin away from all of this excess grid paper. Okay, so let me bring in, okay, let me find it. Here's one that I did, and with my trimmer I cut all of this excess off, okay, around the outside. I'm left here with my corners. Can you see how this is not the point got cut off because I started going outside of my lines? That's okay, because what we can do is we're just going to come in with our snips and we're just going to line up those corners and we are going to trim that off. And look at, now you have nice points. We're just going to manipulate it. It'd be nice if we could do this in quilting, but everything's possible with paper. And there I have a pumpkin. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that you can make sure that your points are really nice because you're just going to trim those corners off there. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that. And I did put some glue down, so let's stick another one of these down. And then I'm just going to put this off to the side and finish it later. You get the gist of what you're doing by filling in your pumpkin with all of your little 1/2 inch squares. Okay, so I'm going to get this out of the way. Okay, so I hope that you're following along okay with me. This really bothers me that I can't see your comments. Oh, I don't like that. But I have faith that everybody is helping each other. Okay, so once you have your pumpkin done, then here's another example of what I did. I glued on my 3 stars. I had a punch. You can use punches or dies. Okay. What is that white dot that's in the middle of what I can see in my phone on screen? Do you guys see a white dot? Maybe it's just something that shows up on my phone screen because I'm recording. I do not know. Okay, Hopefully it's not in your way. I keep thinking I have the backing to a dimensional laying in front of me, and I don't. So what I did was I glued down my 3 stars in whatever pattern I wanted to. And because I like to emboss my quilt blocks, once these stars are glued down, then I would run this through an embossing folder. Okay? You don't have to run it through an embossing folder, but I like to emboss my quilt blocks. It gives that quilted look to it. So once your stars are on, then that's what you would want to do. Make sure the glue is dry before you run it through your embossing machine. But get your stars down, let the glue dry, and then run this through an embossing folder. Okay? And I did that. I used, can you see the pattern here? I used the, the timber embossing folder. Here you can see kind of looks, I thought it just gave some pattern lines, like maybe the texture you would see on a pumpkin. So that's why I went with that. But it's very subtle, but it gives it some texture. Okay? So let's move on. Let's set that out of the way. And before we get to everything else, let me show you how I cut my card base. Okay? I am definitely going to have to move a lot of this out of the way to bring my trimmer in. Excuse my arm. So what I have here is a 5.5 by 8.5 sheet of cardstock. It's half of a 8.5 by 11 sheet. Whoa. Of cardstock. My, Julie. Okay. We're going to score on the 8.5 inch side. We're going to score at 4 1/4. Let's see if I can bring this in anymore. Just moving some things around so that you can see what I'm doing. So the left edge I'm going to put on 4 1/4, and I'm going to use my scoring blade, and I'm just going to score that in half. And this is your standard card base, okay? We're going to give that a nice crease. Now, while we're going to open it up, and while it's in this mode here, which if you folded your card, you'd be in landscape mode. But we're going to open it because we don't want to cut through to the back. We are going to move our edges over to 1 1/4 inches on our trimmer. And from this score line down, we're going to cut. Now your trimming blade will have a line here that tells you where the position of the blade is underneath. So we're going to line this line here up on our score line. We're over at 1 1/4 inches. I just got to make sure that I can see this. Okay, and we are going to cut. Just like that. Now I'm going to move this over, go to 1 1/4 inches on this side, move my cutting blade up to the score line, close the guard, and cut. So this is what your card base looks like now. You got these 3 flaps, 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/4 inches, and then this will be 3 inches in the middle. We're going to fold our flaps back, these 2 outside flaps back so they're out of our way. And we need to score here in the middle in order to create our easel. So we're going to turn our card so that this is in landscape mode, open up our guard, and we want to score at 2 1/8. So 2 1/8 right there. Don't use your cutting blade. Use your scoring blade. I know it's hard to see on black, but there is your score line. So let's get this trimmer out of the way so I have more room to work. And what we want to do is we want to give this a nice crease. Okay, so here we have our easel. And if yours keeps wanting to pop up like that, what I've noticed is if I give this another really good crease with a bone folder, it helps it lay down. And then that way you can determine on what angle you want this to set up at. So if it's popping up on you and it won't stay down, just crease that score line up here again really well. Okay, so here we have our card base. Now the inside of, let's bring in the one I finished. We are going to glue these flaps down so that they're stationary, okay? But on the inside, that inside layer, what I did is I went ahead and I still used a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Very Vanilla, because that just helped stabilize the thickness of the card. I could have cut this just down like this and just went ahead and glued these flaps down, but having that extra layer in there really helps make this card sturdier. Okay, so what I did was I took my 4 1/4, or my 4 by 5 1/4 insert, and because really only the bottom half that I embossed was going to show, because once you set your quilt block up on the easel, you really don't see anything that's up here. So what I did was one of my favorite folders right now is this brick embossing folder. So I just stuck it in my embossing folder to where I'm only going to get an impression that you determine how far up you want it, okay? And when I ran this through the cut and emboss machine, even though my seam of my folder here was going to be on the side instead of going in through the rollers like this, I did not get a lot of resistance. It went through rather nicely. I wouldn't probably always do that, but because I wanted my bricks going in landscape mode, I had to do it this way. Okay? So that's how I did my insert. And yes, we're going to cover this up over here, but like I said, I like that just this simple layer here is going to help make the card sturdier. Okay? So let's bring in our card base and let's go ahead and glue this down to the inside. Okay. So there's that. Now let's work on our flaps to the left and right. In the cutting instructions, I had 2 pieces of cardstock, coordinating cardstock, and what I mean by coordinating cardstock is I pulled a color from the designer series paper that I chose. This was last year's plaid collection, but it's just so fall. I had to use it. So what we're going to do, this is going to layer with a peekaboo border. We're going to glue our DSP to this piece of coordinating cardstock, and then we are going to layer that onto our flaps. So sorry for getting my arm in there. What we want to do is we just want to leave a nice little even border all the way around. It's just a peekaboo border. Okay, we're going to do that to the other one. I really like this style of easel card, and the first time I saw this done, Mary Nabe from Stampin' Peace with Mary Nabe, she is a fellow Ohioan, and she doesn't live very far from me. I keep hoping to meet her one day. I saw her demonstrate this easel card, and always wanted to do it. You could never have too many variations of an easel card. Now we're just going to glue these layers to those flaps on the left and the right. Like this. Look how pretty that is. It's so fall and very vanilla. Just goes so well for fall. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue these flaps down. Just glue those down. Like that. So there's your base. There's your base. Here you have your easel. Okay. So let's get back to working on our quilt element. Set that aside. Let's bring in, this is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. Yes. 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. The layer that goes on top of that is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I embossed it with the same embossing folder. I just love that brick. My favorite. So let's go ahead and put these two layers together. And this is a peekaboo border. Okay. Now, with your pumpkin that you have trimmed off all the grid paper, then you're going to want to glue that down onto your embossed layer. Okay? You can center it, you can set it off to one side. I did one that was offset to the side. I really liked it, but then when I kept looking at it, I thought, oh, I think it needed to be, my pumpkin needed to be in the center. So there you have your pumpkin. Now with the little 1/2 inch square of green paper, I'm just going to cut this in half. I don't want my stem of my pumpkin to be really wide. Excuse me. So let's just cut that in half. Put a little glue on the back. And let's just put that down right there in the middle. There's the stem of your pumpkin. Okay. Now, I like the curlicues that come off the pumpkin vine. So I'm going to doodle that. And I'm just going to, this is Mossy Meadow, I believe. And I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to doodle a little vine there. Okay? And what I did is I didn't have a die that made leaves. So I stamped these leaves from Harvest Hellos, the stamp set from last year's catalog, and I fussy cut them. Doris, I think you'd be proud of my fussy cutting. And Mary, you would be proud of my fussy cutting. I am getting better, okay? I'm going to use a total of 5 leaves, but I only need 1 that I am going to glue down onto my pumpkin. You could use a glue dot. I really like the liquid glue. So there's my little pumpkin leaf. Okay. Now let's set this to the side and let's make our crow, our Chirpy Doodle crow. To do that, take a punch of anything that you can make like the petals, feathers. This is the medium daisy punch. And then I have a 1-inch just regular circle. So these pieces are going to make the body and the feathers of my crow. So what we're going to do, we're not going to fold this in half. We want to offset that because we want to be able to see like this here. Let's make this the illusion of a wing. And then you have the body. And you're just going to fold that, give it a crease. Okay, so here we have our crow's body. Okay, for those feathers, I am just going to trim 3 of these flower petals off, and I am going to cut 1 of them off. And I want to reposition it here in the middle to make that fuller. Okay. So with a little tiny bit of glue, you could use glue dots. We are going to make those tail feathers. And we're just going to make sure that's glued down. So here you have the tail feathers. Okay. Then what I am going to do is I'm going to open up my body and I am going to tuck my tail feathers inside. And I am just going to put a little bit of glue on the back. And I'm just going to glue that down. Close it like this. And there's my little crow. Now I don't want this flap to keep coming up like this. So I'm going to take a black mini dimensional. I'm going to open that back up and I'm just going to put it right there. And then close that again. And that'll keep that from flipping up. What I like is that it still makes it look 2-dimensional there. So all this little crow needs is a beak. So I'm just going to pull in any yellow piece of designer series paper or cardstock. And I am just going to cut him off. Just make him a beak. Any shape that you want. Now, here I get all thumbsy because all I want to do is glue a little bit of that, put a little bit of glue on the back and hold that beak. If you're thumbsy like me, this could be a little tedious. but just glue that beak down on the back, okay? So here we have our crow. And what we want to do is, before we put him down, let's set him aside just for a second. Give that glue a chance to dry. Let's bring back in this pumpkin here, and let's put it down on this middle flap. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue down here at the bottom, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue up here at the top, but not so close to the score line that when that liquid glue moves that it would come out from underneath the cardstock. Okay, so let's just bring it down maybe like that. And then flip it over, and on the bottom, put some glue like that. Close this. This has a peekaboo border also, so just line up. Look at your border, make sure it's looking even. It's a very thin border. Push it down into place. You can open it up then, if that helps you see your border on either side. Push that down, and then make sure you didn't get any glue coming out. You don't want to see any glue coming out from behind there. So there, look at the weight that you just put on that flap is going to be helping the easel part stand up really almost on its own. Okay, so let's put this back down, and I am going to figure out where I want my crow. Now, if I want him to have really long legs, I would put him up higher. If I want short legs, then I'm going to put him down a little bit lower. But just figure out where you want your crow. And then we're going to doodle his legs on. So I'm going to take my black marker, and I am just going to draw from wherever you want his legs to be. I'm just going to draw his legs, and then I'm just going to sketch in some feet onto the pumpkin so it looks like he's grabbing on. So we doodled the feet, and now what we can do is we can put a little bit of glue on the back of our crow, and we're just gonna glue him down. So there you have your Chirpy doodle. And for the eye, I am going to use the metallic pearls, and I'm going to use the gold ones. Now, when you're drawing birds, you want to keep the eye and the beak on the same angle. So I'm just going to bring this, because it will make the bird look like it's looking in the direction that its beak is pointing. So there we have the eye. So basically, except for a little bit of more embellishing, the easel part of your card is done. Now we need to make the easel stopper. And what I did was I used the sentiment from Cute Halloween stamp set. You put a smile on my face. So I'm going to glue this down to a scallop that I punched out of cardstock that's just a little bit bigger than this circle, so that it's just, the scallop is just peeking out from the back. And I think I'm going to take a couple of my pumpkin leaves, and I'm going to position them, and I'm just going to glue them. I'm going to glue them to my sentiment. I just need a little dot of glue. Not very much, because you know that glue moves. I really should have my mat. What did I do with it? Okay, really should have my silicone mat underneath me. Okay, and so let's just put one there, and we'll put this other one next to it. Like that. Just hold it in place there so that the glue grabs. So this is going to be my easel stopper, and we want the stopper to pop up a little bit so that it catches the card from coming up. It stops it. It's an easel stopper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put 2 dimensionals on the back. And I'm using black because with the darker colors, you're hardly going to see them. Now here, what you need to decide is how much of an angle do you want your quilted focal point to be? Do you want it standing really straight up like that? Well, then you're going to want to put this a little higher. If you want it to come down on a slant, then this is going to be lower. So you just have to decide. I'm going to put it right about there, and then it's going to stand like that. Okay? Can you see that? Now, what we have left is embellishing. I am going to add a couple more leaves, 1 leaf to both sides of, let's lay this down, or let's even just move it out of the way. I'm going to just glue a leaf down on either side. I just felt like the panels needed something. I thought it worked well with just the plaid designer series paper, but I'm one that always feels like something needs finished. So I just put, without putting a lot down, and I didn't want my panels to compete with my focal point. So it needed a little something, but I didn't want to go overboard. Okay. And the only other thing I'm going to add is, here are the cute stars, the adhesive backed sequins. I am going to use the purple ones. I'm going to use 3 little purple stars. And I am just going to place them around. And the 3rd one, I think I'm going to put down here, just to give this a little bling down there. You can bling this. We're done. You can bling this easel card out as much as you want, but I think I'm really happy with just the way that it is. And when you mail it, there's not a lot of bulk here. There's a little bit, but I don't think you're going to have to pay any extra postage. Isn't this a cute fall pick-me-up for someone that says, you put a smile on my face, or whatever sentiment that you want to use to brighten their day? I think it's really cute. I'm going to put up a picture On the Chirpy card maker, the Chirpy card maker of Quilt and More. On my business page, I'm going to put a side-by-side picture of what the inspiration was and how we chirpified and made that that pattern more whimsical for fall and to make it our own. Okay, so I will show you the inspiration piece, and it'll then have a picture next to it of the card that we just did. So I hope that you enjoyed today's project. I love it. I have a lot more in the works because I just couldn't quit making them. And these little crows are so cute. My stepdad, I had heard stories growing up, but my stepdad, when he was a boy, he had a pet crow. They lived out in the country. And now I don't remember all the details, but obviously this crow was allowed in the house because it would take things of my grandmother, and they would find whatever the crow took from inside the house. They were finding them in the gutters of the house and garage. So it was stealing shiny things from inside the house, and they were finding them outside. I wish I knew more to that part of the story, but I was told this when I was a little girl, and I'm much older now, so I don't remember all the details. But he had a pet crow, and I just thought that that was a pretty cute story in itself, that here this little country boy growing up had befriended a crow, and then it started stealing from my grandma. So I thought it was cute. I wanted to share that with you. There's one other thing that I want to show you, and I was going to wait. I was going to wait until I created another card, but you know me, I can't wait to show you. If you wanted to make this a Christmas card, then, and this is what I'm going to do, but I can't wait to show you the bird that I created to go on the card. But I have a Christmas card in mind, and no, it's not going to be a pumpkin. I'm going to have to make this a little bit more rounder. I was going to make an ornament, a Scrappy ball ornament. And cardinals are, you know, when you think of Christmas, you think, and snow, you think of cardinals. And you always see a lot of cardinals on Christmas cards. So I turned my crow into a cardinal, and I wanted to show you. This is so adorable. I used the same daisy punch for feathers, a circle punch, you know, for the body. But what I did was I gave it a little comb. Can you see that? I hope it's not blurry. I can't tell. I took a couple extra, I only used 2 petals because a cardinal's tail is not so fanned out. I want it more streamlined. So I used 2 petals. Then I used 2 petals to create a wing. Let's see if I can't get something white to put behind here. Something white that I haven't written on. Let's use this. So let me just lay that there. So I gave him a little comb. I gave him a little beak, and I colored in a mask with my black marker. And then what I did was I colored a little tiny white pearl with a black Sharpie to make his eye. And right now I can see things popping up from where I'm sitting. I think you like the cardinal, but I'm going to repeat this easel, but for Christmas, and I'm going to add a cardinal to the card. So I see hearts. You guys, I see hearts. Lots of hearts. You just made my day. I know that's the simplest thing, but you just made my day. I see these hearts going up. Thank you. So here's a little Chirpy Doodle cardinal. We've made our original Chirpy Doodles. We have now made a Chirpy Doodle crow, and now we have a Chirpy Doodle cardinal. Here's my challenge for you for next week. You don't have to make this exact easel card, but I would like you to create a new Chirpy Doodle bird. It can be the crow, it can be the cardinal, it can be something that you design yourself, but I would like you to incorporate your little Chirpy Doodle into a card, a tag. It doesn't matter what you put it on, but I would like to see a week full of Chirpy Doodles, cardinals, crows, whatever you want to make it. That's the challenge, and that's what I would like to see in my notifications. It would be great if you did the easel card, because I would love to see what your pumpkins look like, but it doesn't have to be the easel card. Your challenge is to create a Chirpy Doodle bird and incorporate it. It could be a scrapbook page. It could be a card. It could be a tag. Get creative, and I would love to see what you come up with. Here's the thing that was happening with my computer before. I am going to have to come back and announce the winner of last week's challenge, because I was having computer problems, and then I ran out of time and thought, I got to get my live done, and I can't use my phone while I'm doing my live to go back in, enter the names, and spin the wheel. So here in a little bit, I will announce who won last week's challenge. But for next week, your challenge is a little Chirpy Doodle card, tag, scrapbook page, whatever you want. So thank you for spending your Thursday morning with me. It really bugs me that I could not see your comments, but it may have to be that way for just a little bit until I can figure out what's going on with my laptop. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I will be talking with you soon.